Today we're going to make some scones. Blueberry, as a matter of fact. And in my bowl, I have my flour, 2 cups. I'm going to add a half a cup of sugar, a couple teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt. These scones have milk and sour cream in them. Scones, biscuits, soda bread, they're all made by the biscuit method. Everything kind of goes in the bowl. And the butter, which I have 5 ounces here, in little cubes.
Room temperature?
Room temperature butter, chef, yes it is. I'm going to rub it in my hands to break up the particles, because the flour here will cut into the fat. And I don't want soft butter because then it'll just won't mix well. It'll just all cook out on me. Because you'll notice what I'm going to do after this, just rubbing these with my hands, not really squeezing them. After I form these scones, I'm going to put them in the fridge for about a half an hour so they can chill down a little bit. And when it goes in the oven, the butter won't melt out. It'll cook in there, give me those nice flaky layers. We know about flaky layers from our laminated dough and how that has popped up. People have a tendency to squeeze. You don't want to squeeze. You just kind of want to rub it through your fingertips.
Similar to making pie crust?
Very similar. Pie crust is done the same way if you don't use a pastry cutter. And crumb toppings, and you'll notice the big mistake some people make, I said they'll squeeze it. You don't want to squeeze it. You just want to rub it through your thumb and your fingers. Get it nice and flaky. That's how we get our flaky pie crust. Now with the blueberries here, they're going to be added in after I take this to the bench. I'm going to slightly knead this, fold it over itself on the bench. And you'll see that once we take it to the bench there. So I do have some pea-sized pieces of butter here. They're not completely rubbed out. Okay, I do have, you can notice I do have some, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Because those will expand nicely in our biscuits. Now, if we were creaming butter for cookies, we wouldn't want that because those chunks would just sit in your batter and would disrupt your batter there. So I'm going to have my sour cream. And my milk. I'll take a bowl scraper. Finish mixing this off. Now you could add strawberries. Today we're using blueberries. If you don't have a bowl scraper, normally you can use a rubber spatula.
Is it possible to work it too much, Chef?
Absolutely. It's possible to work it too much. We just want to do it, Chef, till it comes together and everything's combined there. I have some bench flour in my cup here, which we're going to take to the bench. Very moist stuff. Flour to counter, flour my hands. When I take this to the bench, I'm going to knead it. Remember, always easier to add more flour to a product than it is to try to take away. That's with any ingredients. Always easier to add more. Just going to fold this over itself a couple of times. The stove's very wet.
pressing them down?
Pressing them down right into the dough. We got some nice big berries here. These are nice local berries. You can tell they're a little bit different than those small ones you often get. Might as well use them all. A little more flavor. And then a few times I'm just going to fold this dough over so they get incorporated there. Kind of like we folded our butter on the laminated dough just to make sure everything is evenly distributed there. A little more bench flour down. See on the other side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pat this out very lightly, nice and even. Nice even rectangle I have there. And we're going to evenly cut these. I'm just going to keep going in halves. I want to add a little bit to it. Do a triangle there. And we got 16. Now, as I said, I'm going to put these in the refrigerator for about a half an hour. And then they're going to go in the oven for about 15 to 17 minutes on 350.
What's the purpose of putting them in the oven or the refrigerator? Why don't you just go right to the oven?
Well, then again, we've worked the dough, so we know from working the dough we develop gluten a little bit. So you'll see in some recipes, some cookie batter recipes, scones to rest the dough so the gluten has a chance to relax. Also, we have butter in here. And thank you for the question, Chef. We have butter in here that if it gets too hot, it's not going to give us those nice flaky layers that we normally get with scones and biscuits. So we'll chill that down a little bit. Everything has a chance to rest, cool down a little bit, and then put them in the oven. So yes, these are good. You can even do this like a day, leave them in there for a day, maybe for a day ahead and do that. But I would recommend at least a half an hour in the refrigerator, in the cooler, and then put them in the oven. Then you'll see once they go in the oven, they'll come out. We'll brush the top with butter, and then we'll glaze the tops a little bit with some icing. Now, biscuits and scones, the primary difference is that scones are a little bit sweeter than biscuits. Biscuits are a little more savory. They'll have things like cheese. Not as sweet, but the mixing method, again, is the same. So we'll see in a half. As we said, we let them rest for a half an hour in the fridge. Let the gluten and the flour relax. Let the butter chill down a little bit. Now we're going to put them in the oven for 15 to 17 minutes. Brush them with butter when they come out. And then let them cool a few minutes and put some icing on them. So we'll see what they look like in 15 minutes. Really good. So we can see after 15 minutes, they're nice and lightly golden brown. They're done to the touch. I can also tell if I broke one open, there's no raw batter on the inside. So I'm going to brush them with butter. We're going to let them sit a couple minutes. And then I'm going to put some icing on top. And they'll be ready to eat. Thank you. Sit a few minutes. And now they're ready for a little bit of icing on the top. And now they will be ready to eat. Fresh native blueberries we used. Smell, I wish you could smell this because it smells delicious.